Okay, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله أجمعين. I am just going to quickly go through a cool bit of software that's going to help, inshallah, with regards to your hadith research. I'll send, well, it's a very easy kind of website to remember, but I'll send it in the description anyway. I guess the first place to actually have a look at is what books that they use for this database in terms of this website. So let's just have a look at the actual mutun to start off with. These are the mutun that they have. As you can see, I don't actually think that these are all complete. And it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like they're still adding to it. And I've been using this website for a while, so I don't know how quickly they're going to be adding this stuff. One thing to realize that this is not a holistic kind of database of all the different books of Asanid by any stretch of the imagination. Nevertheless, it's useful and an easy way to kind of do a quick hadith study. So these are all the mutun of that there is. I mean, don't necessarily have to look at all of these because we're going to have a look at them anyway. But for example, the books of Ilal, if you're interested, that they have. I mean, the main ones that we really need of Al-Darqutni and Ibn Abi Hatim, and there's some others there as well. They might get some comments from other muhaddithin, and hopefully they kind of increase the database. Now let's kind of have a look how to actually use this. So the first place that you're going to be looking at is here. Essentially here, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be putting in the text of different ahadith, and you can also do this via book if you wish. So for example, if you only want to look in some of the specific books, you can do that. For example, I just want to have a look in the Mustadrak al-Hakim, then you can do that and just look at it from Mustadrak al-Hakim. If what you're really interested in is just the hadith, then you don't have to do that. I don't know. Let's think of a hadith. Let's do بينما نحن. And then it's going to give you some suggestions. But the suggestion I want, there it goes, بينما نحن جلوس. So you can click on that. And what it's going to do is going to show you, and by the way, it has two different things, بحث موسع and a بحث that is مطابق. Obviously, this is going to be more specific and it's going to have less kind of hits. No, that's not even the hadith I was looking for. So it's going to show you all the ahadith that have that exact wording. That's going to be kind of close to the wording. When you get to here, now there's different things that you can actually look. By the way, one thing that's pretty cool is if you click on this, it will show you the actual text, which is nice. Sometimes it's nice to go back to the original text and actually see what does it look like. And you can think you even have different tabaat here. You've got different tabaat that you can have a look at if you actually want to have a look at the text in its initial place, which is handy. Now, once you've got the hadith here, this is the hadith that I want. You can copy and paste this if you want to copy and paste it. You can also go on to takhrij. And what takhrij is going to do is going to show you all the ahadith that are similar, and it's also going to show, the green will show what is the difference in the matan between the one that you have right now and the one that you're comparing. So, for example, what's the difference in the riwayah by Sunan Nisa'i and by al-Bukhari? The green is, of course, the additions. Red is green is the additions. Red is the subtractions, and this is the same. So you can kind of do a bit of a takhrij like that. If you want it in a different format, you can have a look in it in a tree diagram, which is very cool. Note. You can even and then you can kind of highlight one just to see like what is the tariq that this narration goes through, and that's pretty handy because sometimes you can even identify il like that. So that's quite handy. That's quite nice to play around with, and it can just start your takhrij kind of diagram as a nice starting step. You also have shawahid as well, which again is beneficial. And of course, you have different companions there as well. I don't think that's even in the turuq as well. So that's in terms of takhrij. Then you can go into shuruh. and it will give you the different shuruhat of this hadith. So, for example, Fath al-Bari here, Umdat al-Qari, and there's others as well. And you can kind of go through and read the different shuruhat of this hadith. Again, if you want to go to the original text, he says, then you can click on that. And it will take you to, well, this is Fath al-Bari, and you can actually read it from Fath al-Bari, which is very nice. What are some other cool things that you can do with this app? Also, Ilal of Hadith. So this is actually Sahih Bukhari. Ibn Abi Hatim talks about this. One thing just to note, sometimes things might not be exactly like, you might have to play around a little bit. And it might be talking about a hadith that was in the same section or something like that. So sometimes it's always good, go back to the original book and just see what's actually happening before and after. By the way, you can go left and right to go back to the original book. The mine, yeah, that's 408, 409. So again, that's quite handy. Let's click off that. You have ahkam as well. And there's not that many ahkam of that many of the muhaddithin, but typical Shaykh al-Albani, rahimahullah, Shaykh Shu'aib, of course, his gradings are useful. But it's not like a big corpus of ahkam, but at least it's a starting step. And then you've got Gharib al-Hadith as well, which might be beneficial. Ibn al-Athir's book is, of course, fantastic, and you've even got Lisan al-Arab here by Ibn What's some other things that you can kind of do that's quite handy? I regularly, whenever I'm doing bits of research for tafsir, I like to see, is there any narrations? So, when I haven't done this before, but it's giving me some suggestions. So what this is telling me from the very beginning, my next surah that I'm researching is Surah Al-Inshiqaq in my class. So it's telling me that there's some narrations with regards to verse number 1, with regards to verse number 19, verse 8, verse 3, and so on and so forth. So I'm interested now. So, okay, so, let's have a look. What narrations do we have about Inshiqaq, verse 8? And it's the hadith of Aisha, radiallahu anha, when she asked the Prophet ﷺ about, the muhasabah. فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا. So that's quite nice as well. And one thing that's nice about that is kind of when it almost thinks it for you, and it kind of going to give you an indication if there's some ahadith with regards to the surah that you're researching. I quite like that a lot. Let me just quickly show you something else. So you can look at individual narrators. So let's go for Uthman ibn al-Aswad. Going to give you a tarjuma of the Rawi. The Jarh and Ta'dil, and it's got kind of some of the main books like Tahdhib al-Kamal and Jarh al-Ta'dil and things like that. So you can have a look through them. Again, we can go to the original book and have a look at that, which is always very nice. I quite like this. Rawa'an. We can go through and see who are all the different people that Uthman narrates from. So here in Bukhari, he narrates from Sulaiman ibn Abi Muslim. He also narrates from Ibn Abi Mulaika, and so on and so forth. And you can do the same for who are the people? Lidawa'an, Abu Asim, Ubaydullah ibn Musa, and so on and so forth. You can see what book that's happening as well. So again, that's very, very, very handy when you're trying to kind of have a look at different things. Let's just go back here. Another thing that you can do, somebody asked, can I look for narrations from a specific person? The answer is yes. So I don't know, who should we pick? Let's go for Sufyan ibn Uyayna. So let's have a look at the Imam of Mecca, Sufyan ibn Uyayna. Let's see all the times that Sufyan ibn Uyayna narrates different things, and you can even do that via book if you like, which is really, really good, because that way you can, but just bear in mind that these collections might not be complete. So just bear that in mind. Nevertheless, that's very beneficial. We can start to have a look at when exactly did this person narrate in the different books of Hadith. Again, very cool. I think that's, and it's going to be self-explanatory in terms of what type of a hadith, in a broad term, are we talking about? Mawquf, hadith, or qudsi, and so on and so forth. We're going to look at the abwab that this narrator narrates from. All these things are going to help if you're doing certain different types of research with regards to a hadith. Okay, let's have a look at what else we can do. So the AI part, and I think this probably needs a bit of work, but you can kind of look for specific topics. Now, I've tried this, and I don't think it's amazing, if I'm honest with you. And I actually preferred, there was an app called Jami' al-Kutub al-Tis'a, and I actually feel like that was better than this. Nevertheless, you can play around. I mean, they've advised Hakum Libs al-Harir. I mean, let's just have a look. I mean, it's obviously going to be good because that's one that they've recommended. But I haven't had the best of luck with this, if I'm honest with you. But you can try it out and see if there's any hadith that are related. But like I said, the Jami' Kutub al-Tis'a, the old app, which you can actually download, I actually thought was better for that. But you can play around with it and see if that does help you. So hopefully, inshallah, that gives you a bit of an overview in terms of how to use this very nice resource in terms of searching for hadith. I hope that benefits. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.